Hi again, this is Sam, and this is video number 2 of setting up a DigitalOcean Droplet ostensibly as a development environment. We'll see how this works out. I'm just going to get right to it. Let's fire up a lamp stack. And I'm in my control panel. I've clicked on Marketplace on the left, and I'm going to choose lamp here. So I'll click that. And you will come back to this page, I'm sure, to see documentation, especially if you want to eventually use this droplet as a production environment. It shows you how to use certbot to get a secure website going. We're just going to go with regular HTTP for now. I'm just going to keep rolling here. Let's click Create Lamp Droplet. And this should be pretty straightforward. We're going to stick with all the defaults except for the $40. Don't freak out. We're going to go to the left and pick a $5, which is less than you spend at Taco City in one trip. If there is a place called Taco City, there should be. I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Oregon, so I'm going to choose San Francisco. Probably really doesn't matter. The only thing we really need to pay attention to is SSH keys versus one-time password. Might feel tempting because passwords are easy. Like I can do a password. What's an SSH key? If you know what an SSH key is, just fast forward a few minutes here. But if you don't, what it is you create an SSH key pair like locally, and then you give DigitalOcean your public one, and it puts it on the server. And then when you try to connect it, it says, "Hey, I have this key. Do you have the same key?" And you do, and then it says, "Okay, cool. You don't need a password." Basically, how that works. Let's click on, now I have by the way, I have one in here for another user, Sam. You might have one in here. If you do, that's great. If you have a GitHub account that you've actually pushed code to, I'm certain that you have an SSH key as well. But let's just go through this process in case you haven't. And the way that I can do this is I'm on my Mac, but I created a brand new user that doesn't have anything set up at all yet. So that's how this is going to work. Let's click on this button, SSH key. And it says to create a pair if needed. That's what we need to do. Then use this command here, SSH keygen in terminal. I use iTerm. You can just use the regular terminal app. It really doesn't matter. So SSH key /keygen. And I'm just going to click enter a bunch of times until it's done. And there we go. Now, I don't want this to seem like magic. It saved a public key in users atom.ssh ID RSA pub. And that's what we want to get the contents out of. I don't want this to look like a black box to you. I want to show you exactly where this is and in Finder. So let's go to Finder. I'm in my user folder here. By the way, if you don't see that in the left-hand side, go to Finder Preferences and click on Sidebar and tick the box right next to the home thing there. I actually like to set that as the default folder that I hop into in here. Now, I'm probably seeing things that you're not seeing in yours because I can see these invisible files. There's this SSH invisible folder that has those files. That's exactly where it put those files for us. The way that you can see those, if you don't know already, is Shift Command period. And if you just click it a bunch of times, it just toggles the view. And it's kind of easy to remember because hidden files, generally speaking, they start with a dot in front of them. All right. With that in mind, we have the SSH key. How are we going to get that? We could probably just go in here and open this up with code. Another way that I want to show you, because I'll hopefully get familiar with the command line, is if we can change directory. Let's say ls -lah is like law. It's easy to remember. If I just say ls, I don't see any hidden files. But if I do this, this is my favorite configuration. Shows me all the hidden files and everything. So I'm going to cd. Actually, let's clear. I'm going to cd, which is change directory into .ssh. And I'm going to list what I want to see in here. And now I'll use the cat command, which I don't know why it's called cat. It just spits out the contents of a file. And we'll go id _rsa.pub, and I'll copy these lines that it just spit out. And I'll put those in DigitalOcean. Now when it creates the droplet, it will put this where it needs to go. I'm going to name this Adam because that's the username on my local computer whose keys this is. But you can name it anything you want. It's just for you to remember which key was which. So I'll add it. And now, how many droplets? Just one droplet. Hostname, I don't care. And create droplet. Now it's going to take a while for this to spin up, and I'm sure that I will speed up this video. Okay, that's great. We are looking at the IP address right here. I'm going to copy that and drop it in a tab up here. It might not work the first time. No, it doesn't. So I'll try it again. It actually takes a couple minutes. There we go. Now we can see it. So if you don't see it at first, don't freak out. It'll come online. This is the default website that we're looking at. So now we have a digital Ocean Droplet and we have a default website. This is pretty cool. We're pretty much done now with this. We'll get VSCode hooked up to it. But if you want to stick around for just a couple more minutes, I want to show you around on the command line in this droplet because I really think this is awesome. Let's clear this. What we can do to SSH into that droplet is say SSH is the command, of course. Now, of course, you could set up transmit or whatever other SFTP client you have. But the user that we have is root, and the server address is that IP address. If you haven't seen this before, it looks a lot like an email address, and certainly it is. Well, it's not an email address, but it's the username on one side and the server name on the other side. So we don't have a domain name hooked up to this yet. If we did, it could possibly work. But let's go ahead and run that. And of course, we can type yes to this answer because we know that it's the droplet that we set up, so we can trust it. And when we log in, now we're in within the context of the server out there in the cloud. And if I were to type exit out of here, then it would just take me back to my local. But this is some helpful information. Like if you ever get lost, just log into the server and you'll see like a link to the documentation page for the LAMP. And actually like your MySQL root password, let's go ahead and do this. Let's just say clear and then cat, which is the, spit out the contents of that file. You can see that this would be your MySQL password later. That would be the password your user would be root. So that's pretty cool. Actually, let's see if we can scroll up. The default website is being served from /var www.html. So let's go there and take a look around. So cd /var www.html, and we'll list in here. By the way, what's really cool is like on a lot of Ubuntu boxes like this, there are aliases for listing things out, and you can do exactly the same thing I just did by LL alone. I think the only difference is that this was a little nicer to read with K instead of just a straight number, but whatever. And let's go ahead and cat index HTML, and well, that's the HTML file. So I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to go ahead and exit out just for a little bonus there. And in the next video, we'll get VS Code hooked up and we'll start like editing files. It'll be fun. See you in the next one.